The story begins as we see a man walking into a building. Meanwhile, some men are waiting to attack him. As soon as the man appears in front of them, they start shooting at him. However, he easily deflects all their bullets. Without wasting any time, he rushes toward them at supersonic speed and takes them all out one by one. Soon we learn that the man is a legendary assassin known as Sakamoto Taro. He is feared by every gangster in the industry, and every hitman dreams of being like him. However, one day he falls in love with a store girl. As a result, he quits his hitman job and marries her. Eventually he becomes a father and over time gains weight, ending up as a fat man. Now he runs a small shop in a quiet town. One day, as a kid from the neighborhood plays in his shop, he accidentally spills some ink on a man's clothes. Instantly the man becomes angry at the kid and, just as he is about to hit him, Sakamoto intervenes to stop him. In his dream, he kills the man with his pen. However, the man still feels something eerie and hurriedly leaves the shop. Shortly after, a young man named Shin praises Sakamoto for what he did in his dream. As he introduces himself, Sakamoto once again in his dream hits him. At this point, Shin reminds him that they used to work together, so Sakamoto takes him outside the shop to talk. When Shin requests him to return to the underworld, Sakamoto firmly refuses, making it clear that he has no intention of returning to the world of crime. Hearing this, Shin becomes angry, as he cannot understand why Sakamoto left his hitman job at the peak of his career. In his eyes, Sakamoto is simply wasting his talent and time here. Just then, as Shin pulls out a lollipop, it suddenly gets cut into two pieces. Sakamoto warns him that it is a no-lollipop zone. His incredible speed leaves Shin speechless, as he had assumed Sakamoto was just a fat guy now. A moment later, a man approaches Sakamoto. Without hesitation, Sakamoto quickly cuts all the branches. Soon after, two kids complain that they have only one ball to play with, so Sakamoto effortlessly splits it into two balls with his bare hand. Additionally, he helps a mother feed vegetables to her daughter. Watching all this, Shin becomes increasingly frustrated and tells Sakamoto that he is living a ridiculous life. As he returns to his car, he unexpectedly finds himself smiling, realizing that Sakamoto still has that powerful aura. Suddenly his boss calls him to ask what happened. When Shin informs him that Sakamoto refuses to return, the boss orders him to kill Sakamoto. Immediately Shin tries to reason with him, insisting that Sakamoto is just a fat guy now. However, the boss becomes furious and warns Shin that if he doesn't do it, someone else will. Feeling trapped, Shin believes he has no other choice. Later, as he sits in his room, he reflects on the days he used to work with Sakamoto. Eventually, he convinces himself that since Sakamoto is going to die anyway, he might as well be the one to kill him. Next day, as Sakamoto waits for customers, he notices Shin entering his shop. Without warning, Shin fires a bullet at him. However, Sakamoto reacts instantly, spitting out a candy from his mouth, which alters the bullet's trajectory. Before Shin can reload his gun, Sakamoto swiftly hides behind a rack. He then uses another candy as a bullet to attack Shin. But as Shin dodges the candy, Sakamoto sneaks behind him and delivers a powerful kick, knocking him unconscious. When Shin regains consciousness, he is confused about his whereabouts. Just then, Sakamoto's wife informs him that he is at their home. Surprisingly, they invite him to have dinner with them. Suspicious of their kindness, Shin assumes they must have poisoned the food. However, he eats it anyway, confident in his training to withstand poison. To his astonishment, the taste of the food is unlike anything he has ever had. At that moment, he realizes why Sakamoto left his old life. He simply wanted to live happily with his family. As Shin prepares to leave, Sakamoto points to a sign requesting him to visit again. Later, Shin returns to his boss to explain what happened and desperately begs him to let Sakamoto live. However, the boss refuses, stating that Sakamoto has broken the underworld's rules. In response, Shin offered his own life in exchange for Sakamoto's. After thinking for a moment, the boss promises to let Sakamoto live. However, deep down he secretly plans to kill him. Unfortunately for him, Shin can read minds and immediately points his gun at him. Meanwhile, Sakamoto had been monitoring everything. He entered a secret code into his computer, activating all the hidden weapons in his shop. Without wasting any time, Sakamoto grabs an electric shock gun and rushes to the location where Shin is fighting for his life against the Mafia goons. Using his mind-reading ability to predict their moves, Shin manages to take down many enemies. However, as the battle continues, he realizes that he is running out of bullets. With no other option, he tries to force his way out, but just as he attempts to escape, an enemy's bullet wounds him. At that moment, the goons capture Shin. Just as things seem hopeless, Sakamoto arrives to rescue him. In response, the boss orders his men to kill Sakamoto. The goons immediately open fire, but he effortlessly catches the bullets using chopstick. Without breaking a sweat, Sakamoto defeats the goons one after another. Realizing the danger, the boss commands his men to fire at him all at once. However, Sakamoto dodges every bullet at lightning speed and knocks them out with punches powerful enough to keep them unconscious for the entire day. After the fight, Shin asks how Sakamoto found him. In response, Sakamoto unloads his gun, revealing a small transmitter that falls into Shin's hand. At this moment, Shin confesses that he plans to leave town. But instead of saying goodbye, Sakamoto tosses him an apron, hiring him as a worker at his shop. Next day, Shin begins working at the shop. In his free time, Shin praised Sakamoto for how cool his fight was. However, Sakamoto's wife overheard him and immediately asked if he was going back to being a hitman. She warned him that if he broke the family rules, she would divorce him. Hearing this, Sakamoto became terrified and quickly denied killing anyone. Fortunately, his wife believed him and went outside to clean. Meanwhile, Shin wondered about their family rules, but Sakamoto firmly warned him not to ask about them. Instead, he took Shin to Chinatown for some shopping. While there, he bought some pork buns for his wife and daughter, and Shin was moved by how much Sakamoto loved his family. Just as they were about to return, a girl named Lu Xiaotang suddenly jumped on Sakamoto, destroying his pork buns in the process. At that moment, some mafia goons who were chasing Lu arrived. As they attempted to capture her, she skillfully used her Tai Chi moves to fight them off. However, despite all her efforts, one of them managed to grab her from behind. The man then pulled out a knife to harm her. Meanwhile, Sakamoto, still saddened by his ruined pork buns, suddenly grabbed the knife and knocked the man out cold. At the same time, Shin took down another guy from behind, and Lu used her Tai Chi moves to defeat the last one. But before they could catch their breath, even more mafia goons appeared, forcing them to run away. Later, the goons reported back that Lu had escaped. Their boss, the CEO of Dan Incorporated, was furious at their failure. As a result, he hired two assassin brothers, Sun He and Bacho, to finish the job. Without hesitation, Bacho brutally chopped off one of his men's heads and began torturing him right in front of the CEO. Though the boss knew these brothers were psychotic, he also knew they were the best he had. Therefore, he instructed them to retrieve the key from Lu at any cost. Meanwhile, Lu revealed to Shin and Sakamoto that she was the daughter of a mafia family and that they were after her because of a key she possessed. As Shin curiously asked why, she explained that it was the key to her family vault and that her parents had died protecting it. Because of this, she felt that if she let the mafia take it, she wouldn't be able to face her parents in hell. Concerned, Shin urged Sakamoto not to get involved with her. However, Sakamoto simply asked if she knew how to make pork buns. When Lu responded that she did, he immediately decided they were going to save her. Suddenly, Bacho appeared and kicked Sakamoto so hard that he went flying into a building across the road. At that moment, Lu realized that the situation had just gotten worse. She recognized the brothers as infamous serial killers who found joy in slaughtering people. As a twisted hobby, they even made sketches of their victims' heads. Seeing an opportunity, Shin attempted to land a surprise punch on Sun He, but Sun He effortlessly caught it, forcing Shin to back off. Meanwhile, as Bacho tried to kill Lu from behind, Sakamoto struck him with a punch so powerful that it shattered the building's roof, sending everyone crashing into an empty kitchen. After witnessing Sakamoto's overwhelming strength, the brothers attempted to negotiate, urging Lu to hand over the key. However, she refused, stating that it was the only thing she had left of her parents. In response, Sun He revealed that her parents had done the same, so he had to kill them. Enraged by this revelation, Lu tried to attack them, but Sakamoto quickly stopped her. At the same time, Shin advised her not to let them get under her skin. Moments later, he threw a knife at Lu, but Sakamoto swiftly caught it midair. Seeing this, Lu couldn't help but wonder why he was risking his life for her. In response, Sakamoto finally revealed his past. On Christmas Day, he had bought a gift for his girl, but she had refused to accept it, knowing he had earned the money through a murder job. Believing he would never leave his hitman life behind, she had jumped off a building. Without thinking, Sakamoto had jumped after her and managed to catch her just before they landed on the snow-covered ground. At that moment, he had made up his mind he would change. She had made him promise never to kill again and instead save people to make up for those he had already taken. Finishing his story, Sakamoto revealed that he was no longer allowed to kill anyone. Hearing this, the brothers wasted no time and launched an attack using their weapons. However, Sakamoto effortlessly defended himself with kitchen utensils. No matter what move they tried, he blocked each attack with ease. Frustrated, the brothers decided to use their unlimited killing technique, attacking him from all directions at once. However, Sakamoto dodged every single attack without even moving his feet. The brothers were stunned. They couldn't believe that someone as fat as Sakamoto had dodged their inescapable attack. Just as they prepared to unleash another ultimate technique, Sakamoto suddenly knocked Bacho out with an iron pot. Then he shattered his enhanced chakram using just a frying pan. Realizing he had no chance of winning, he attempted to attack Lu instead. However, Shin threw him back, and Sakamoto finished the fight by knocking him out with a refrigerator. After tying the brothers up, Lu stared at Sakamoto and Shin in disbelief, wondering who they really were. Sakamoto casually responded that they were just retail workers. Meanwhile, the CEO was eagerly waiting at the vault, ready to loot all the treasure inside. However, to his shock, Sakamoto and Shin arrived with the defeated assassins behind them. As the CEO tried to make sense of what was happening, Lu suddenly grabbed him from behind. Terrified, he started begging for his life. Although Lu was furious at him for killing her parents, she ultimately decided to let him live, after giving him a well-deserved beating. She then opened her family vault, and inside they found the treasured belongings her family had left behind. Curious, Lu checked her father's diary, discovering that he had left behind a bottle of his most cherished liquor. At that moment, Sakamoto took out his smashed pork buns and suggested they enjoy the liquor together. Sakamoto also hired her for work, but she arrived 2 hours late on her first day. As a result, Shin scolds her for being so irresponsible, but she doesn't seem to care. Later, she messes up while putting items on the shelves. When Shin notices she placed the wrong items, he immediately asks Sakamoto to fire her. However, Sakamoto advises Shin not to say mean things to her and instead tells Lu to apologize for coming late to work. Then, out of nowhere, he begins chatting like there's no tomorrow. Shin and Lu find his behavior unusual, and Shin reveals that he has never heard him talk that much. At that moment, Sakamoto warns that he would kill him for his rude behavior. Just then, another Sakamoto arrives at the shop. Surprisingly, he completely ignores his double, standing in front of him, and simply goes to sit in his seat. Suddenly, Sakamoto attacks the other Sakamoto with a knife, and as he dodges it, they point their weapons at each other. However, it turns out that the second Sakamoto is actually his old friend Nagumo, who has the ability to mimic people's appearances. Meanwhile, Shin and Lu watch in complete surprise, and Shin is puzzled as to why he can't read Nagumo's mind. Nagumo, amused by their confusion, starts laughing at them for being fooled. Frustrated, they angrily demand to know who he is. Eventually, Sakamoto reveals that Nagumo is a hitman who used to work with him. Then Nagumo informs that the JAA has placed a 1 billion yen bounty on Sakamoto's head. At first, Shin and Lu think he is joking again, but Nagumo, now speaking in a serious tone, reveals that the bounty will be posted online tomorrow. However, some hitmen have already heard the rumors. Just then, a pizza delivery man arrives, and Shin immediately realizes he is planning something. As expected, it turns out the delivery man is actually a hitman. He suddenly pulls out pizza cutters and threatens to kill Nagumo. Despite this, Sakamoto doesn't even care. In an instant, Nagumo swiftly grabs the hitman from behind, and just as he is about to kill him, Sakamoto urges him not to do it. Confused, Nagumo wonders if Sakamoto is really trying to get through this without killing. However, Sakamoto gives no answer. In response, Nagumo lets the pizza guy go, and as he begins to leave, Sakamoto asks who put the bounty on his head. Unfortunately, Nagumo has no idea but mentions that Sakamoto has drawn a lot of attention ever since he eliminated the Dan Incorporated chief. Curious, Lu wonders if more hitmen like him will come after Sakamoto. To this, Nagumo warns that more serious assassins will definitely try to kill him. With this warning, he takes his leave. Shin rushes outside to ask him something, but Nagumo has already vanished into thin air. Meanwhile, a group of hitmen is secretly watching Sakamoto through a hidden camera inside the pizza box. As they discuss who should attempt to kill Sakamoto next, the Dandenkai chief warns them not to underestimate him. Instead, he advises them to wait for the perfect moment to strike. However, the others believe he will be an easy target since he left the order 5 years ago. Sakamoto already knows they are watching him and warns them not to stalk him. Shocked, they realize that he noticed the hidden camera and conclude that he won't be an easy target after all. Later, Shin begins to worry about what they should do to avoid the hitmen. In response, Sakamoto believes it's best to lay low for now since they don't know anything about their enemies. Just then, his daughter arrives and reminds him of their plans for tomorrow. At that moment, Sakamoto suddenly remembers he promised to take them to Sugar Park. The next day, they finally arrive at Sugar Park. While his daughter enjoys her day, Sakamoto and Shin remain on high alert, worried about the bounty on his head. To ensure his safety, Shin and Lu decide to protect him for the entire day. However, Lu asks how they will be able to identify hitmen among the large crowd. In response, Shin explains that he can read the minds of everyone within a 30-meter radius and detect if anyone is thinking about killing Sakamoto. Moments later, he suddenly hears a hitman approaching and quickly warns Sakamoto. Sakamoto then spots the hitman disguised as a janitor. As they get close to each other, the hitman attempts to strike from behind, but Sakamoto effortlessly eliminates him with a pen without even looking. Without wasting time, Shin and Lu quickly remove the unconscious hitman from the area. Fortunately, the hitman survived since Sakamoto deliberately avoided his vital organs. Meanwhile, another hitman observes everything from a distance and immediately recognizes that Shin's mind-reading ability is a huge problem. He comes up with a strategy: if he stops thinking, Shin won't be able to detect him. To test this, he walks past Shin undetected. As Sakamoto and his family ride a mini-train, Lu asks if Shin has sensed any hitmen. Shin responds that no one currently has murder on their mind. However, Lu remains suspicious of a silver-haired guy. Hearing this, the hitman starts wondering if they have noticed him. In that instant, Shin immediately realizes he is a hitman and quickly informs Sakamoto. Suddenly, the hitman fires a bullet at him, but Sakamoto deflects it with his bulletproof glasses. Thinking quickly, Shin removes his safety bar, and as the train approaches a loop, he jumps out. He lands near the hitman, grabs him, and leaps off the train. However, the hitman manages to free himself, and they both land on the train track. Shin attempts to read his mind but fails, realizing that this opponent will be much more difficult to handle. Just then, a train arrives, forcing Shin to jump into the air. However, the hitman swiftly throws 2 knives at him. Although Shin dodges one, the second cuts his leg. To make matters worse, the knife was coated in a strong poison blend. Despite the pain, Shin manages to stay alive, but his vision is now completely blurred. Smirking, the hitman claims that Sakamoto is a weak man who is afraid of death. However, Shin warns that Sakamoto will destroy anyone who threatens his family. Suddenly, the train comes again. This time, Shin jumps onto it and manages to grab the hitman midair. However, the hitman pulls out his knife, preparing to attack. Though unable to see, Shin instinctively dodges all his attacks. As he wonders where Sakamoto is, he recalls that his daughter wanted to see the Sugar Bunny show. Using his mind-reading ability, he locates their position. Once he figures it out, he grabs the hitman and jumps onto the show's tent. Thinking quickly, Shin puts on a Sugar Bunny costume. As he lands a punch on the hitman, he is shocked to realize that he can somehow see again. The hitman charges at Shin and attacks him with his poison knives, but Shin skillfully dodges each strike and starts beating him, as if his vision had fully returned. Meanwhile, the audience believes the fight is part of the show. Sakamoto's wife notices how focused he is on the performance, but in reality, he is actually giving Shin instructions on how to fight. The hitman, confused by Shin's sudden improvement, slashes his costume and sees that Shin's eyes are still closed. However, it's too late. Sakamoto gives the final command. Without hesitation, Shin delivers a powerful jump kick to the hitman's solar plexus, completely knocking him out.